Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into something pretty stark, unsettling really. It challenges the whole image of America as, this prosperous nation. We call it the land of opportunity. But right now, in 2025, we're seeing tens of thousands of people living on sidewalks, in tents, in cars. Our sources, they paint this really powerful picture. Tent cities becoming normal, almost unremarkable in big cities. It's a visual thing. You can't ignore it. Forces you to look closer. So this deep dive, it's about exploring this really complex, escalating crisis, homelessness across major U.S. cities. And frankly, the path forward. It seems agonizingly unclear. Our mission today is to unpack the sources you've given us. They offer a sharp, pretty candid look at the scale of it all. And the causes, right? It's this web economic pressures, mental health challenges, huge struggles for the cities themselves. Then there's the political stalemate, which is frustrating. But also, crucially, maybe some potential paths forward, some hope. The goal isn't just what's happening, but how. How did the wealthiest country on Earth get here to this breaking point? And what does it all mean for our values? Okay, let's unpack this, because the numbers here are truly startling.
Yeah, and what's really striking from diving into these sources is just how many complex factors pile up. They converge. And the sources lay it out in, really stark detail. If we start with just the scale, the official figure for 2025, it's staggering. Over 650,000 Americans officially homeless. But here's the thing, and the sources really emphasize this, that number is almost certainly a significant undercount.
An undercount? How so?
Well, they talk about hidden homelessness. That's people living, in cars, crashing on friends' couches, maybe motels week to week, unstable situations.
Huh.
These folks often aren't captured in the official counts.
Right, they slip through the cracks.
Exactly. They might avoid official channels, maybe out of fear or shame or just trying to stay self-sufficient. And that makes early intervention, getting targeted support to them, incredibly difficult. It's not just a numbers game, it's people we aren't seeing properly.
Absolutely. And like you said, these aren't just abstract figures you can ignore.
Yeah.
Not when you walk through our cities. The sources really describe how this looks visually, especially places like LA, San Francisco, New York. It's this stark new reality right there in our urban landscapes. Tent cities becoming, as they put it, a normal sight.
The normal sight. Yeah.
And the insight there is profound, isn't it? This visible suffering. It's not just individual tragedies. It fundamentally challenges our whole idea of prosperity, of civic order.
Yeah.
You just can't ignore the systemic cracks when it forces you, the listener, to consider what it actually means when so many people lack stable housing in a developed nation. It affects the whole community fabric.
It absolutely does. And, this visibility, it leads the sources right into the economic drivers, the crushing realities. What's really striking here, though, is how these pressures reach way beyond who we traditionally think of as being on the margins. It's systemic.
Now, yeah, this is where our sources take a really sharp turn. It gets super interesting because it isn't just about those on the margins anymore. They highlight skyrocketing rents, average one bedroom, over $2,000 in many major cities. Combine that with this widespread inflation, relentless, driving up costs for everything, food, gas, healthcare.
It's a perfect storm.
Exactly. It's this relentless financial squeeze, and it's hitting families who, used to be stable.
Precisely. This economic pressure cooker, it's not just for the historically vulnerable anymore. Our sources really underscore how it's impacting everyday working families. They note a growing number are, and this is stark, one paycheck away from losing housing.
Wow. One paycheck.
Yeah. And that's a critical point. The working poor are increasingly joining the homeless population. It really challenges the common ideas about who homelessness affects. It's not some niche issue. It can touch a much broader part of society now.
Makes you think about your own budget, doesn't it? How quickly things could unravel.
It really does. That one paycheck away reality is, it's a chilling reminder for a lot of people living close to the edge.
Okay, so the economic factors are clearly huge. But the sources also make it plain that there are other deeply intertwined challenges, creating this tragic feedback loop. We're talking about substance abuse, mental illness, significant roles. What's the connection the sources draw there between health and housing, and where are the gaps in the system they point to?
It's a really tragic cycle, and the sources detail it vividly. It's self-perpetuating. See, homelessness doesn't just, attract addiction and mental illness. It actively makes them worse.
Makes sense. The stress alone.
Imagine the constant stress of just surviving. Exposure to violence, no privacy, no safety on the streets. These conditions can absolutely trigger or severely worsen things like anxiety, depression, PTSD. And then flip side, the instability of street life makes sticking to any kind of treatment plan for mental health or substance abuse almost impossible.
Right. Where would you even keep medication safely or make appointments?
Exactly. And there's a severe lack of affordable treatment identified as this critical gap. So even if someone wants help, often they just can't get it, can't access it. The sources, they paint an alarming picture, mentioning streets becoming open-air drug markets in some cities.
Oof.
Yeah, it highlights not just the immense individual suffering, but also these profound public health and safety issues rippling through the whole community. It really forces us to confront, our societal responsibility to provide accessible, integrated care for these complex health issues,
Oh.
especially when they're so tangled up with housing.
So in these complex individual factors, the economy, health crises, the big question is, how are our cities coping? The front lines of this. Our sources really dive into how cities are struggling despite, significant efforts, resources being poured in. They note that billions are being spent on shelters, yet numbers keep growing. It sounds completely overwhelming for local governments. What about the broader impacts the sources talk about?
Yeah, the sources go beyond just the financial strain on city budgets. They elaborate on a broader societal impact. There's this growing frustration, even fear among residents. People are getting angry at unsafe streets and declining tourism.
You hear that a lot.
You do.
Yeah.
And there's tangible economic fallout, too.
Yeah.
Businesses closing due to camps outside storefronts in downtown areas. That hits local economies, jobs. It paints this picture of just immense pressure on city governments. They're caught in this incredibly difficult balancing act.
How so?
While trying to balance compassion with law enforcement, they're stuck between the urgent human need, shelter services, and the civic demand for public order, safety. It helps you appreciate the intense pressure points on city infrastructure, the social fabric when a crisis hits this scale, affects everyone, business owners, citizens just trying to navigate their city.
Which brings us to what feels like an even bigger barrier, maybe more entrenched, as these other challenges mount. The political side. The sources highlight something particularly frustrating here. A national failure to launch. No unified effective response. Democrats and Republicans, the sources say, just blame each other, which points to a profound lack of national housing policy. Seems like paralysis.
It's striking how that political gridlock directly impacts how resources are actually used or misused. Our sources state it clearly. More money goes into short-term shelters than long-term solutions.
Band-aids instead of cures.
Basically, this allocation problem, right? Constantly treating symptoms, not causes. Couple that with the fact that there's just no unified plan across federal, state, local levels, it leads to this endless cycle, prevents any meaningful, sustainable progress. It's a powerful example of how a lack of bipartisan cooperation can directly block solutions to really pressing human issues.
Leaves you wondering, what are the real costs of that political inaction when we know long-term solutions are often more cost-effective, more humane?
Exactly. It's a critical question.
Okay, so despite all these immense challenges, the disheartening political stalemate, the sources do offer some glimmers of hope. They detail possible solutions, which is frankly a relief to hear. People are thinking about ways out. They mention specific things like tiny home villages, affordable housing projects, and a big expansion of mental health and rehab services.
Absolutely. And the sources also highlight things like universal rent assistance proposals, another potential path, right? Offering that critical safety net against the economic pressures we talked about.
So the ideas are out there.
The ideas exist. They've been piloted, sometimes shown real promise. However, the sources consistently stress this vital caveat. Without bold action, the problem will only grow. Which pushes us to ask a crucial question. What kind of political will, what level of societal commitment is actually needed to move these promising ideas from just proposals on paper to, widespread effective action on the ground? It makes you think, which of these solutions seems most promising? Or what combination might actually work given how complex it all is?
Yeah. This deep dive has really laid bare a complex, heartbreaking, and, deeply challenging reality. Our sources really underscore that homelessness isn't just a housing crisis, it's profoundly a crisis of America's values. Forces a hard look in the mirror.
And that leads us right to this powerful, really thought-provoking question. It's directly from the source material, and it just encapsulates this crisis. In 2025, the wealthiest nation on Earth must answer. How can millions sleep on the streets while billionaires fly to space?
Wow, that contrast.
It's stark, isn't it? It truly challenges us all to reflect. on societal priorities, wealth distribution, our collective responsibility.
So, as you, the listener, reflect on everything we've unpacked today, the economy, health, politics, those potential solutions. We invite you to consider what you believe truly causes homelessness in America. Is it mostly the skyrocketing rents, the tragic grip of addiction? Is it the failure of our politics to just forge a plan? Or maybe, as our sources strongly suggest, is it this complex, tragic interplay of all three, weaving this intricate web that just demands a multifaceted response? Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.